Hello, hello! Welcome to the stream! David Snowpeck here from Snowpeck Games. Well, this is only my second stream at this new time, and I think only the clean and my children are watching right now. I hope that some more people realize that I'm doing it at a different time again. Oh, and Logan! Welcome to the stream, Logan! Let's see what kind of characters we got. Logan's rocking a sweet beard and a bald head. I've got a white fro and a shield, and the clean is looking like kind of like a shopkeeper with some overalls and looks like a stash. I think we're looking pretty good today. There's a pretty good crew floating around the screen here. As I frequently have been forgetting to mention recently, the overlay is a Godot game that we built on stream a while ago. It's on my GitLab. You can download it and use it for your own streams if you want. Ideally with some modifications, since the Snowpeck Games logo and stuff is baked in there. Did I switch it to the new logo? Am I still using the old logo on my streams? I actually don't even remember. I just saw it a second ago. Anyway, how is everybody doing? How are your projects going? Playing anything cool? What is up, folks? For me, I was sick all last week. Like real sick. I was just laying in bed for a week basically. And so didn't get a whole lot done. And then this week, I'm not fully better, but I'm like better enough that I've been working, which has been just like that much more draining. And I don't know, but I'm happy to be back on the stream. Gonna do some hacking. As far as like games, I'm still playing Cyberpunk 2077. I think I'm almost done with like all of the mainline content in it, and then I don't know, I'll finish it. There's too much like side content that I'm just never gonna do, but yeah, it's a fun game. I like it. Not for everyone. I know that it had a rough launch and a lot of people are against it for that reason, but I dig it. But yeah, so still waiting to hear how folks in the comments are doing. While I'm waiting, I'm going to just talk a little bit about what we could be working on today. We're definitely working on Webxr in Godot 4 stuff, but there's a couple of options. In fact, there are 3 options of what we could work on. And unfortunately, do they all come back to rendering? They all come back to rendering. You know, I think part of the reason that I don't like rendering is that I've never had the opportunity to just like work on rendering in like a sort of blue sky, green field kind of world. I'm always working on it in these like weird problems on weird platforms that like I have to try and solve these crazy edge cases. Logan says he's piecing together a big tutorial that should be out in a couple of days. Full process modeling and implementing simple low poly characters in Blender/Godot. That sounds awesome. That sounds really great. Yeah, it is tricky because like when I first started messing around with 3D in Godot, it was like all these tutorials and little bits of information out there, and it's like, okay, you need to get the Better Collada plugin. And so I get that, and it's a total disaster. I'm like, oh, okay, actually that was like a year-old information. You shouldn't be using that. You should be using GLTF. And like, okay, so then I'm doing that. And just all these like things you got to know because the world is ever evolving. Blender's always changing. Godot is always changing. So yeah, that sounds awesome. Especially, I imagine you're going to be doing it Godot 4, right? So that is also something that there just isn't a lot of information about. The new import process in Godot 4 is very interesting. So today, I hope people, does anyone out there who's watching right now know OpenGL and rendering to some degree, please? It would be so cool if someone who is good at this stuff turned up today and could help me through some of these sticky issues. But we've got 3 potential things we could work on for Webxr. 2 of them are things we've worked on before. We spent the first couple of Webxr and Godot 4 streams working on multi-view, getting multi-view implemented for OpenGL, the OpenGL renderer in Godot 4, because Webxr runs on the web, which means WebGL, which basically like Godot uses its OpenGL renderer, and then those OpenGL calls are like translated to WebGL calls. So we're kind of working in the OpenGL space. So we got that basically working. And I was like totally ready to be like, all right, it's time for full review for this PR. Like, let's do it. Let's get this thing merged into Godot 4. And I discovered a bug last night, which is making me crazy. I've been thinking about like nothing but this bug since I found it yesterday. Basically, our multi-view OpenGL stuff works perfect on the desktop, running on real OpenGL. It works perfect in the Webxr Emulator in Chrome. So that's WebGL, but in Chrome on the desktop. For some inexplicable reason, it does not work on the Oculus Quest 2. I don't know why. Like, it's still WebGL. Like, the code looks fine. I know, basically, I know some part of what's causing it, because if I undo one of the changes that Clayjon asked me to do, Clayjon is like the maintainer of the OpenGL renderer in Godot 4, it works again if I undo this change he asked me to do. But like, he really wants it to work this way, and it should work fine this way, but it just doesn't, and it's maddening. So we could work on that, and that has been like haunting my dreams. So maybe we'll do that just because I can't stop thinking about it. The other thing is, last stream from 2 weeks ago, we were working on trying to get input for AR in Webxr working. We were porting a change from Godot 3 to Godot 4, and we didn't even get to test if our input changes were working because we hit another rendering issue, which we were unable to solve 2 weeks ago. That seems, I mean, we didn't figure it out then, but like, it seems less mysterious and weird than this, like, it just doesn't work on the Quest issue. So we could work on that. Or I've also, over the last 2 weeks, been slowly puttering forward on getting the OpenGL multi-view stuff working with Openxr, which is, I guess, not directly related to Webxr. It's a little tangential, but like the main way that you are going to make XR apps in Godot 4 is by using Openxr, which is this industry standard that everyone is starting to adopt. The Quest and Oculus and those folks have adopted it. Microsoft for their HoloLens. Pretty much everybody but Apple is going to adopt it, is what's going to happen. And theoretically, like, we should be able to just take the OpenGL multi-view stuff we did, hook it up to Openxr, and be able to use that, which would be great because it would offer us another way to test our OpenGL multi-view stuff in this world of like just platform-specific bugs. It's just having another way to test the same thing is good. And potentially, if there is like a device that comes out at some point that doesn't support Vulkan but does support Openxr, this is then a way to do that. I don't know if such a device exists, but anyway, Bastian wanted me to work on that, and you know, I want to. If Clayjon wants me to do something, I'm going to do that. If Bastian wants me to do something, I'm going to do that, because they are the maintainers of the stuff in Godot that I'm trying to dig into here. So yeah, that's another option. And that is also stuck on rendering. I've been working on getting everything hooked up. Let me get the branch for that. And I basically have, I think, all of the boilerplate in place, and I have it to the point where Openxr, I think, assuming I'm understanding how all this stuff is working correctly, is handing us the textures that it wants us to render to. And I just need to find a way to take that from Openxr and give it to Godot and say, hey, render on these textures. And theoretically, that should work. So those are the three things. Multi-view, which is almost done, except for this stubborn Quest 2 issue. Input from last time, which is stuck on some rendering issue that we didn't manage to work out, or Openxr getting that stuff wired up. Does anyone have a preference? Does anyone have a one of those that you'd rather look into or rather not look into? I mean, my mind is still on this Quest 2 thing. It is so crazy. Maybe what we could do is we could poke around on that for a little bit, and then if it just looks too frustrating, or if everyone suddenly logs off, if my eyeball count goes down to 0, we'll switch to something easier. I don't know. Yeah, let me just show you like the shape of this problem, because it is just the most frustrating thing on earth. Let me get over to the PR, because that's where I have all the information. Since I was posting there, hoping that like Clayjohn or Bastian would swoop in and save me, be like, "Oh, that's what you're doing wrong," but so far, no. But it's really weird. So there's one error that happens on the Quest, which doesn't happen on the other platforms. So this is a possible clue. This is possibly pointing us to what we need to fix. And I went down this path a little bit, but didn't fully explore it. Maybe there's something else we can try and dig into this error to see if maybe that tells us what's going wrong. And the other big clue is if I apply this patch, which undoes this thing that Clayjohn asked me to do, it works perfectly. And so I just don't know. I just don't know why this isn't working. So it's something either caused by these changes, or these changes are revealing some other problem somewhere else, right? So basically what the changes are is we have this shader, the scene GLSL shader, which takes whatever user-written shader you had and stuffs it into a whole bunch of Godot default stuff to render the 3D scene. It's like basically like the 3D base shader. And data is passed to the shader via these UBOs, which are uniform buffer objects, which basically allows us to declare these structs in the shader. I'll bring it up. So let's find scene data. So we can declare these kind of like structs in the shader, and then declare equivalent structs in C++, and basically just tell the GPU, copy this C++ struct into this struct in the shader, and then we use its data, and that's amazing. It saves us from having to like marshal all of these individual like uniform values. We can just shove this whole struct in there. And what Clayjohn wanted me to do, because I originally had written the multiview stuff to like pack a bunch of extra data for multiview into the scene data struct. But he's like, no, we don't want that, because most people are not going to be using multiview. We don't want to have to send these extra 144 bytes for every single frame for every single user when practically nobody's going to be using multiview. Only these, XR people are going to be using multiview. So he asked me to make a separate struct just for the multiview data, and pass that in when multiview is enabled, and it works on desktop and in the Webxr emulator, but just mysteriously not on the Quest. And I've like gone over this code forward and backward. I'm just not sure what's going wrong here. So I have a couple of paths that I haven't explored, which we could start poking at those a little bit. Like I was saying, there's this error that we get only on the Quest 2, which is an actual error. It says GL error invalid operation, which sounds serious enough that it could just be killing the rendering pipeline and causing nothing to render, which is what I'm seeing on the headset. I'm seeing nothing but the clear color. And figuring out if this can lead us to what the actual problem is. The other idea I have, largely because I don't fully understand how all of this stuff is supposed to work in OpenGL, because like I've said many times, rendering is not my strongest area, is that perhaps this buffer that we're setting is interfering with a different shader. Because I don't entirely understand. Like I can see in the code where we're binding this buffer to this shader. I don't really see where we're unbinding it, and I have this like fear that it's now being attached to every single shader that's running, and maybe the problem isn't actually in the scene GLSL shader, but some other shader that's just being confused by this new thing that we're adding here. So that's those are basically my two leads. Does that sound mildly interesting? You guys want to dig into that with me? Let me know in the comments. Yeah. So let me start poking at that a little bit. And I anxiously await to hear if you guys are into this. If you're not, like for real, we can totally try one of the other two things. to dig into that stuff. I know, Logan, you know a whole bunch of stuff about shaders, more from like the creating user shaders and the math end of it, whereas this is like, I don't know, just like the fiddly API parts of it that I'm kind of stuck on here, which isn't entirely your expertise. Ooh, the clean says it sounds fun. Yay! Let's dig in. Let's start here. So I think chasing down this error is probably the quicker thing to do. At least the quicker thing to get started on. What I tried yesterday was I just like commented out every instance of this function call, because it's saying this GL uniform 1i function, which you use to set a single integer uniform in a shader. It's saying the wrong uniform function for type, which sounds to me like it's trying to say that we declared a uniform of, like, let's say float, but we're trying to set it to an integer value or something like that, right? And I went through and I commented out every single instance of this function in Godot, and it still worked on the desktop. Like, it still rendered on the desktop and still didn't render on the Quest, but the error was gone. So I think what I would like to figure out is more precisely where this error is happening. Not just commenting out every instance of this, but like try and narrow down which actual call in the code base is causing this error, and maybe the place that it's being caused at will give us some clues as to what's actually happening. Logan says, it won't be much help, but enjoy listening. Cool. I mean, yeah, rendering. Like I was saying before, I think the reason I might hate working on rendering is I never get to work on normal rendering stuff. Like, Logan, you get to make like fluid simulations and like cool rendering stuff when you're working on rendering. I just get to bang my head against like, why doesn't this work on this one weird platform? But yeah, we'll get there. Maybe after we solve all these problems, I'll be a rendering expert. I don't know. Probably not, but we'll see. So I want to try and narrow down which actual call to this function is leading to this error and see what that gives us. So I'm going to start by, again, commenting out a bunch of these, but not all of them. We're going to attempt to do kind of like a binary search towards it. So rather than doing one each as we go, that would be like a linear search. We're going to comment out half of them and see if it goes away. Then we're going to comment out, if it's still there, then we're going to come out half of the remaining half and see if it goes away, and kind of binary search our way there. We're gonna take our computer algorithms that we use for searching in the computer and apply them to our human selves. So there's a whole bunch of calls to GL uniform 1i over in shader GLES CPP. This is part of the shader compilation process, where it is essentially taking like all of the uniforms in the shader and assigning their binding point. Which, again, I'm not an expert, so I might be describing this totally wrong, but you declare a uniform in the shader, then you define a binding point, which is essentially just an integer, and then when you're actually sending the data to the shader, you assign a value to that binding point. Like, you bind the value that you actually want to be there to that binding point. And so in the shader compilation process, it's setting up all those binding points. And so we see the GL uniform 1i up in here, and we are just going to comment all of this out. This is basically half of the calls, maybe a little bit less than half, but close to half, and it's easy to do all at once. Of these calls, we're going to comment them out. This is all based around texture uniforms. We actually don't need any texture uniforms for the test scene that I'm doing, so it should be safe. And yeah, let's compile this. Before we came on, I compiled everything in advance, so we should get a quick compile time, ideally, and not have to wait too long. But yeah, I am really excited for when I have this working at kind of like a baseline level and can go back to other things. Like, I would love to be using Webxr for some stuff. Someone sent me a message the other day, and it was still when I was really sick, so I didn't get a chance to look into it. Here, maybe let's look into this together while it's compiling. Someone said they have a company that makes like virtual computers to be embedded in Webxr applications. Hyperbeam? Yeah, it says, we build virtual computers and TVs that Webxr startups can embed in their platform so users can browse the web and watch stuff together in sync. Do you think virtual computers, TVs are something that Godot developers would want? If so, we'd love to chat about a Hyperbeam Godot collaboration. I mean, it sounds like a really cool technology. And we have just compiled and linked. We'll check that out after we run a test here. So I would like to start Godot. I don't necessarily want to start it in the debugger. Let me just go launch it from the command line here. And I want dev. And so first we're going to try running this in my desktop OpenGL test, make sure it still works, which is this Godot for mobile VR. Mobile VR interface is this interface that theoretically is supposed to be making for making like cardboard, like Google Cardboard style mobile VR apps. But I just use it for testing because it's the easiest XR interface with which to test. So I'm just going to run it, make sure that it goes into stereo. Stereo, good. So that is still working. Now we are going to compile it for the web. And let's check out this Hyperbeam thing. So copy link. What is Hyperbeam? Okay, so this looks like a Three.js example using a Hyperbeam. Oh, we're using it right now. This is cool. Okay, so this is, it looks like a Three.js app. We're not in XR mode. I don't have my headset on or anything. I wonder if it works in the Webxr emulator. Let's get the emulator going. Can you, or do you have a button to go into XR? Maybe not. Maybe this demo doesn't have an XR mode. But that's cool though. So this is like a little embedded. Click up here. Can I go to Snowpet Games? That's slick. I would love to see this in XR. Hey 9L, yeah, the early stream. The stream time has shifted. I hope the message is out that folks know. Yeah, this is cool. Let me look at some more of their examples. We'll check. Oh, I just got the notification that the build completed. So next, that was the web build is completed. So now I need to I need to export the app. So let me go to where is this? It's in Games G4 GLES3, and I need to run. Well, let me just first make sure that the export stuff is set up right. It is. I need to. Let me see if I have this saved from an old time I ran this command. Export. I do. Okay, so I will run this command to export, and then we're going to load it up in the Webxr emulator and see if it works. So let me get another terminal going so I can get a web server running, which may already be running. I have this bad habit of starting it and then leaving it running and forgetting to turn it off. Yep, looks like it is. Nope, not Docker, grep Docker. Nginx. I want to kill it so I can be in control of starting it and stopping it. Sometimes there's like cache issues that are only fixed if I like kill Nginx and start it again. So let's see, did I kill Nginx? Yes! All right. Hey, Jiban Art. I am working on the Fixing up Webxr support in Godot 4. I'm the maintainer of the Webxr module in Godot. It's working in Godot 3, not yet working in Godot 4, and we're trying to get that going before the stable release, before Godot 4.0 is released. And 9L, I just saw your question about why did I move the stream an hour earlier. So I used to have a 9 o'clock work meeting, and it was convenient to do my work meeting, then do the stream, and then eat lunch, and then have another work meeting, was basically how my Fridays went. But I no longer have that 9 o'clock work meeting, and it's just easier for me to do the stream right away, because I cannot like hack when I have the stream hanging over my head, because I'm just so nervous. I'm so nervous and anxious for the stream that I can't do any productive work. Anyway, so we exported. We are going to start Nginx. We are going to open a new web browser window and open up our test app in the Webxr Emulator, which actually I'm going to get that open first. And then we're going to go to localhost. And I apologize for my voice and my sniffles that I'm sure are going to plague this stream. There's a sniffle for you, because I am still recovering from my cold. Ooh, the emulator's being weird. Do you have to refresh the page? Let's see if that helps. Let's open a new instance of a window. I hope I don't have to like completely kill Brave to get it to work again. Well, I actually don't know that we need it to be fully working to do our test here, but let's try it. Oh, and it needs to be HTTPS. All right, and I click and stereo's still working. I wish I could do things in the emulator here, but it's like busted somehow. That sucks. What all am I running in Brave? Too many things, too many things. I can't quit it. I'm monitoring the stream and like reading chat and all this stuff, so we'll just have to deal with the fact that that's not working. But the main thing to know is us commenting out all those lines of code did not break it. So that's what we need to know. And now I need to test this in the actual headset, and we want to watch the debug console. So I need to go to Chrome Inspect Devices, and let me get the Quest headset on here. Give me a second. All right, you guys will not be able to see what I am seeing. I did not get that stuff wired up today, but you will be able to see the most important thing here, which is the messages from the headset to the dev console. Because we are looking to see, do we get that error or do we not get that error after having made this change? So I'm going to refresh here, and I'm going to click this here. Does it seem to be working? Yes, it does seem to be working. Console. Interesting. Oh. Site is unreachable. Am I like on the wrong network? Oh, you know what I think it is? A networking thing, just like a home networking thing here. Let's IPA grep. What is it? ENS? No. I never remember the name of, or here we go, ENP. ENP. All right, my IP changed because I switched from having my computer on the Wi-Fi to having my computer on the wired internet. So I just need to go to a different IP address in the headset. So give me a second. I just saw it and I just forgot it. 129. 129. Okay. I used to be 133. Now I'm 129. Let's try that. 129, enter. Yes. Do the dangerous thing. Okay. So is it coming up in the inspector? Yes, yes it is. All right, so the console messages from the headset will appear here. They're coming over my USB connection. And let me try entering XR mode. Nothing is rendering. I'm seeing nothing but clear color. And what do we have in here? Yep, there we go. There is our error. This is our error that we're chasing down right now. So commenting out that particular set of this function call, did not get it. We're going to try commenting out a whole bunch more of them. And see if that gets rid of it so that we can narrow down which actual call of that function is causing the problems. Let me take the headset off because it's going to hurt my head. All right. Oh, hey, Boss MB. Hey, Micah. How is it going? I am working on more Webxr stuff. We're trying to figure out why this amazing multi-view code that we wrote on stream over the last bunch of weeks works everywhere except the Oculus Quest 2, which unfortunately is the most popular VR headset ever sold. So if it needs to work anywhere, it needs to work on this particular headset. So let's get back to the code. And if we go search for this function, I already kind of know where it's going to be, but I want to show you guys. The rest of the calls to this function are basically in these generated headers. So basically the way that the OpenGL renderer works in Godot is the shaders are written in GLSL with some special syntax that the Godot developers made up, like this modes here and the specializations. And then these GLSL files get processed by a Python script that's run by scons, to create these header files. So scene.glsl gets compiled into, where was I? Let's go to scene.glsl.gen.h, which contains a bunch of data extracted. So you can see like the specializations that were in there, the modes, which are, here, these are the modes, the shader variants. All of these like accessor functions to set uniforms, and the actual shaders are in here too. That these big collection of numbers here, this is actually the shader text. The individual numbers are like the ASCII character codes for each character in the shader. So this is essentially what ends up being in the actual engine is these header files. So the majority of the remaining GL uniform 1i calls are in these generated setter functions. And so we are not, the last time I did this test where I commented out every call to this function, or not the F1, the I1, GL uniform 1i, I commented out here inside these generated files. But what we're going to do instead is comment out the calls to version set uniform, because we want to see specifically what bit of code in Godot is leading to this error. Does it work on other Android devices or crashes only on Quest? I don't have any other Android devices to test. Does the Pico have Webxr built in? And you know, something I haven't tested either, which I should test, but I just haven't had a chance, is if I have the Quest doing link or virtual desktop to my machine and then run the Webxr experience on like my desktop Chrome to see if that causes the problem too. I should try that, but I haven't yet. It's so weird. Like if I run it in the browser, in the Webxr emulator, it's still WebGL, it's still the browser, but it works. But I run it in the Oculus browser on the Quest and it fails. Like it's so weird. If anyone has any ideas, you're thinking smartphones. Okay, so we were working 2 weeks ago on trying to get the AR support working, And it also crashes for AR, but in a totally different way, like a completely different way. So conceivably, figuring out how to get it to work with AR mode on a smartphone could help us figure out what this problem is, and maybe we'll switch to that. Maybe when it gets to 10 o'clock, we'll decide this problem is too weird. Let's chase down that problem, and maybe chasing down that problem could give us some ideas for this problem. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's not rendering on smartphones either in AR, but for completely different reasons, or at least completely different errors we're getting. Could be similar reasons, but different errors. Anyway, so we're going to look for calls to version set uniform, and we are going to comment out a bunch of them. And see if we catch the error, basically. So let me look for version set uniform. And this is kind of a pain because there's all these different functions, but only some of them are calling the one I. Basically, it's using C++ function overloading. So if you call it with a float, it calls 1f. If you call it with any of these kinds of ints, it calls 1i. So we're going to have to actually check like what these functions are being called with to know if it's one that we want to comment down or not. But that's not that hard. So okay, we are going to come into rasterizer scene GLES3, and we're going to start commenting stuff out. So this one is calling to, it's setting a transform. It's not setting on an integer. This one is setting an integer. Spotlights. Commenting you out. This one is setting omnilights. Commenting you out. This one is a float, so we don't care about that one. This cube map stuff. This one is setting an integer, so we're commenting you out. This one is setting an integer. And this one is setting a float, so we don't care. The sky shader. I'm really suspicious of this sky shader. I don't know why, but I just feel like this sky shader is somehow related. But I don't know yet. We'll find out. Setting a transform. Setting a float. Setting a float. Setting a double. Setting a vector. So none of those. Which one is the top one there? Okay. Float, double, vector, float, transform. Is that all of them? Okay, so we've commented out every thing that we think is calling this function within rasterizer scene GLES3, which is the main code that we've been working on for the multiview stuff. So if this causes the error to go away, we know that one of the ones we commented out is the problem. If it doesn't, that'll be really interesting, because that will mean that whatever is causing this problem is in a part of the code that we haven't even been working on. So something that we did just kind of led this other code to cause this problem. So yeah, so the clean's asking about cardboard style VR. So the right now the OpenGL renderer doesn't actually run on Android. It should. It is a great use for the OpenGL renderer, but like there's just some connecty glue bits that mean that it doesn't work. But when I run the cardboard style mobile VR interface on the desktop, it works fine through OpenGL. It would be great if it was if we could run it just like straight up on Android, not through the web browser, and see if that caused a problem. But unfortunately, just with the state of OpenGL on Android in Godot 4 right now, that's not something we can do. Okay, so let's compile this. We are going to compile. We're not going to do as many tests as we did before. I'm just going to very quickly compile it for the web, run it in the Webxr Emulator, and then run it on the Quest right away. Time to relax and focus. Hello, welcome to the stream. I haven't been keeping up on what characters people have been getting. Have the characters been appearing, or is like the overlay totally broken? The overlay might be totally broken. I'm not seeing time to relax and focus's message appear. Let's restart the overlay. All right. I now have a stash. I don't appear to be wearing pants. Oh man. Let's see if it's working. I'll test here. This overlay, by the way, as I mentioned earlier, is a Godot app that we built on stream some time ago. Yeah, so it's working now. If some folks want to get some new characters in there, say something in the comments. We'll get you up on the overlay. Oh, it hasn't been working, but you didn't want to distract me. Ooh, you got a sweet character, Micah. You got an orc with like a giant axe. Looking good. All right. Okay, so that compiled. We need to export. Should only take a moment here. We already have Nginx running, but I'm just going to stop it and start it again. Because like I said, like sometimes there's caching issues with that. Logan says, I like how I walk away for a while, and then as soon as I sit down, I hear David say, I don't seem to be wearing any pants. My overlay character does not seem to be wearing any pants. In real life, I'm wearing pants. I don't think you need me to prove that, but trust me, I am. Ooh, Jiban Art got a pretty cool looking character here. Old guy with a long white beard and a shield. Logan's got an orc with a shield and kind of a mini fro. Time to relax and focus has got a sweet horned helmet. What happened to my hair? All right, let's just quick run this in the Webxr emulator, make sure it still works. Do I have it open anywhere? I might have closed it. Let's just open it up again. Oh, because I stopped Nginx. Let's restart it. Go. Goes into stereo just fine. No weird errors. All right, let me throw on the quest and give it a try here, and we'll see if this invalid operation error comes up. Okay, I'm going to exit out of immersive. I'm going to see if this still seems to be connected. Where's my mouse? Oh man, computing through the eye hole. There we go. It's extra hard when I have the 3 screens. Where is the mouse? Where did it go? All right, so if I hit reload, I should see it reloading here. Beautiful, it is. So we're all connected. You guys will be able to see the console messages just as soon as they come in. All right, let's enter XR. I'm still seeing nothing rendering. And are we getting the error? That's the question. There is no texture bound to the unit 0. Okay, because we killed all of the texture binding. But that shouldn't be a problem. Like, we don't need the textures, and it's just a warning. I mean, I suppose I would like if there were just no errors. I guess we could try uncommenting that first batch that we commented out, which is probably leading to this texture issue. And then also there's an error that has always happened, but I know how to get rid of that. It's from the shader running with the radiance map enabled, but there isn't actually a radiance map. Is someone knocking on my door? You can come in. Do you need something? You can watch a show on your phone if you want. Oh, it stopped? Okay, well, you can watch any kind of shows and watch while I'm doing this stream.
I can't find my headphones.
Oh, I think they're in the corner of the den.
I looked over there.
Are they in the kitchen?
I looked in it.
Are they in the living room? Go check that out, and if you can't find them, how about you ask Sasha to help? And then if you still can't find them...
But she's in the bathroom.
Oh. Well, take one more look, and then if you can't find them, check the living room. If you can't find them, then I'll come help you look for a second, real quick, okay? Sorry, I mentioned earlier my girls have off school today, so there may be some interruptions to this stream. See what's going on in chat since I've been gone here. Is it okay to call to GL uniform 1i with a double and float values in the version set uniforms? Yeah, so yes, I think if we were to call GL uniform 1i with a float, it would cause problems. Or if we were to call GL uniform 1i to a uniform that's actually declared in the shader as something that's not an integer, that would also cause problems. To answer Gban Art's question, what do I see, the gray background? Yes, that's all I see. I just see gray, only the clear color. Okay. And then the clean is worried about my back door being open. I'm just gonna leave that open so Ava can come back if she needs more help. I'll close it up once whatever issues get handled. Okay, so what I wanted to try was uncommenting the texture thing and doing the change that I know that will fix the radiance map, because I will feel most secure that we are narrowing down on the problem when there are like literally no errors in the console. So that's what I want to try first. And then I want to try uncommenting the ones that we commented out that appear to have eliminated the error that we are chasing down to see like which actual call it is. I think we're pretty close to finding it. We only had to comment out like 4. Let's look in the git diff really quick. We didn't have to comment out very many to come on. What's going on here? There we go. We had to comment out 1, 2, 3, 4 specific instances. You couldn't find it? Okay. I am going to go help my daughter find her headphones really quickly. I will be back in a moment. Where's the button? Okay, sorry about that. I surprisingly, my daughter's headphones are mysteriously disappeared. We had to find some backup headphones. So what's been going on in stream here? Could it be an axis thing? Maybe the box is behind you? I don't think so. Is there a way that that could make sense? I suppose there is a way that that could make sense, insofar as like when I'm on the headset, it's using real spatial tracking. I could be in a place that I don't expect to be. The thing is, if I make the code change that I showed earlier to not use this UBO, it works fine. Like I see it right in front of me where I expect to see it. So my inclination would be to not think that it's an axis thing, to think that it's something related to the rendering, because making this change to not have this extra UBO to pack this data into the scene UBO makes it spontaneously work. But yeah, that is an interesting thought. 15 minutes ago, you showed these force inline functions with GL uniform on I with floating point type int being used. I can't find the repo. So the reason you can't find it in the repo is because these files are generated by the build. So the way that the that this works is in the repo is the scene .glsl, which when you run scans gets compiled into the scene glsl gen.h. So you'll actually have to run scans locally in order to get this file. Yeah, I'm excited by the idea that you're looking through the repo, though, the clean. I'm excited by the idea that you're doing your own investigation, because maybe you'll find the answer. Okay, so what was I going to do before I went on that tangent, running around the house looking for my daughter's headphones? I was going to try and get rid of all of the errors. So I don't want to be in this orig file. This is some artifact of applying a patch. I want to be in the same file, but not the orig. Rasterizer scene. Rasterizer scene GLES3. And in here, there is use radiance map. All right. So, use radiance map. So this error, I'm pretty sure is harmless, but we're going to get rid of that one error by setting that to 0. And then we are going to go back to shader GLES3, and we're going to uncomment these texture ones, which will hopefully get rid of the new error that we just had on this last run. And theoretically, this should be an error-free run when we compile this and test it on the headset. So we'll build HTML5. Yeah, the float ones go to F. So they should all be overloaded to use C++ overloading to end up in the right OpenGL function, which is super nice. That's much nicer to write code that way than working directly with the OpenGL API and having to call the right GL uniform, whatever, for the particular uniform that you're setting. All right, we are linking. While we are linking, we can take a little bit more look at this Hyperbeam stuff. I am personally very excited about the possibility of using VR to actually replace like a laptop to be an actual like virtual work environment. I know mostly I do game stuff, but I am excited about the idea that I could get like actual work done. And like at home, I'm addicted to the idea that I have these 3 screens and then of course my 4th kind of screen over here. When I'm not at home and I just have the one little screen, it'd be sweet to put on the VR headset and have 3 screens again, or maybe 8 screens, more screens that I could even fit. All right, so we'll take a little bit more look at this after we run this test, because I saw that the build completed. So we will first quickly test. Well, we got to export again, and then we'll quickly test in the Webxr Emulator. and then test on the headset again. And we should be getting 0 errors on the headset. It should still work locally. Just double check that the export finished. Yep. Yep, still working here. And let me throw on the headset. All right, I just got to refresh this page. Look through the nose hole, make sure it's still synced. We're still getting the connection through the USB, which appears to be the case. Oh, I need to keep this in my hand. Loading. All right. And are we getting 0 errors is the question. 0 errors that matter. This blocking on the main thread dangerous. It's kind of a warning. We always get it when loading in Godot takes just like a long time. Cool. So no errors here. Brilliant. So the next part of this is we're going to uncomment some of those version set uniform that we added. We'll uncomment half of them because, again, we're doing a binary search. And see if we can narrow down which one is causing the problem. So let me look in git diff to find them. So just make this a little bit bigger. So we have these 2 down here, material storage. We will do those 2 because it's 4. That's half of them. Let's get to that spot. Material storage. These 2. Right? Or no, here's 2. Wait, what's this one? Oh, that one's setting a transform, so it's these 2 right here. And so that I remember... Wait, why am I in a ridge? Get out of a ridge. Jeez, I gotta just delete that file. Okay. Try that again, except it's not the orig file. These ones are commented out. I'm going to leave them commented out, so I have a marker in the diff to find this again. But then I'm going to put an uncommented version. And let's build HTML5. And this shouldn't take terribly long. Check out Hyperbeam here. Embed virtual computers in your web app. Open any third-party website or application. Synchronize audio and video flawlessly among multiple participants. And add multi-user control with just a few lines of code. Yeah, this is interesting. So is it doing like an iframe and then, you know, you're still just running your browser in there? Or is it actually like running a virtual desktop somewhere? I'm very curious on how this actually works. Maps, navigate to URLs, run scripts to customize your UX. It has some sort of built-in audio. All right, well, the build finished. So we will redo our export. I don't think we need to keep doing the test in the Webxr Emulator. We've tested all on and all off, so having half on I don't think should cause any more problems. So I will just do it in the... Did I close the window? I didn't mean to close the window. I'll just do it in the headset. Let's get the inspector connected. And we appear to be in sync. All right. It wasn't those 2. What is with that circle right there? What is that? Oh, that's my mouse. Okay. All right, so it wasn't those 2. We have 2 commented out lines left. We will, or no, it was those 2. Here's the error. It just appeared. I missed it. Okay, that was weird. Okay, hang on. Let's try this again. I'm going to keep a better eye on this. Okay, so we are about to load into 2D mode. All right, we're in 2D mode. I'm going to hit it. We're going to go into XR. Go into XR. That's interesting. Did it sort of seem like it didn't happen until I moved? It's just... Is it time delayed, or is it changed because I moved my head? I'm going to try moving my head like right away after I press it and see if that triggers it to happen right away. And then I'll do one where I try to stay very still. Okay. In XR, move my head all right away. Huh, and it happened right away. Let's refresh and try to stay very still. It's not happening. Not happening. Still not happening. All right, I'm going to move my head. Interesting. Real interesting. Will more happen if I move my head again? You know, I bet it's culling the box if I'm looking up. I bet the box should be right in front of me here. And if I'm looking up, I bet it's culling the box. I wonder if that invalidates some of our tests from before. Because I might have been looking through the eye hole, but not looking at where the box should be. That is interesting. Okay, let's undo the change we just did and do the test again, but I'm going to make sure to look in the spot where the box is supposed to be. Because I think it's just culling it if I'm not looking at it. So, okay, let's go back to here. We're going to remove these lines again. To run build task, HTML5. Man, rendering. Rendering. I have to remember to look at the mesh we're trying to render. International servers. Okay, so servers are involved. So maybe these are actually virtual computers. Yeah, seamlessly render Hyperbeam's virtual computers in your 2D or 3D virtual world. So they're actual virtual desktops that are being rendered. So it's not just an iframe. Let's see pricing. Start free, then pay as you go. Get 1,000 free minutes every month. That sounds nice. I like 1,000 free minutes, or 10,000, sorry, 10,000 free minutes. All right, the build finished. Let's export. And because I like to, I'm going to kill Nginx, which I'm going to restart once the new files are in. All right, now let's try it again. And quit, refresh. We are in sync. All right, I am going into XR mode. I am looking at the box. Looking all over where this box is supposed to be. And no errors. Okay, so it does appear as though one of those two lines, or possibly either of those two lines, is leading to this issue with the with that error. So, let's try. Well, first, let's just look around a little bit. So this is setting this particular uniform, Omni light count, spot light count. We are setting it, let's uncomment these so I can get VS Code to give me some info here. It is a uint32, uint32, shader version, instance variant. Let's look at the actual shader. Go to scene, glsl, and we're going to look for these omni lights and whatnot. So here we go. Omni light count. That appears to be the uniform that's getting set. And spotlight count. They both are wrapped with this, if not defined, disable light spot. I guess I want to know if those are defined. Is that part of these? Okay, yep. So they are going to be set to false. Disable light omni, disable light spot. So those should not be happening. Oh, and we actually just looked at the uniforms only in one of the shaders. I don't know if these uniforms exist in both the fragment and both the fragment and the vertex shader. They could just exist in the vertex shader. That would make sense. Okay, so disable light omni. Omni light count. Disable light spot. Spotlight count. I'm going to search up to see if we are in the fragment shader. We do appear to be in the fragment shader. So that was line 356. Omni light count. And that is the only. Okay, so they only exist in the fragment shader. I don't know if that's important or not. But it's something about setting this uniform or setting this uniform. They're definitely ints. We are setting it with a uint. That shouldn't matter. I don't think that should matter. We could try changing it though. So when we go look at the code, yeah, you can't see what I see in the headset. I'm sorry. All I'm seeing is gray. That is the problem. Are you on Godot for beta 3? No, I am on master branch, a little bit beyond beta 3. So this is master from 2 days ago, I think, maybe yesterday. But yes, welcome to the stream, Jose. We are trying to debug an issue where this works perfect on the desktop or in a desktop browser, but fails in the Oculus Quest 2, the Oculus browser, because all I see is gray. And we're chasing down a clue. The one clue we have is there's an error that happens only on the Quest 2, but not in any of those contexts where it works. And we're trying to see what the deal is. So one option is changing this from a int to a uint, because if I come back here and look at what we're actually setting it, we're setting a uint32, a uint32. I don't think it should matter, honestly, because at a binary level, there's only going to be at most one spotlight. There's probably 0 spotlights, honestly. There's probably 0 omni lights. So a 0 is a 0, whether it's a uint or a normal int. But that is definitely something we could try. I'm also a little curious if these variants are correct. Instance variants, like where does this get set? Instance variant equals, okay, so we get past shader variant. This variant count is greater than 0. Shader variant 1 plus int. So I guess ultimately this comes from shader variant, which is from here. Okay, and I know that this is correct. -1 omni lights when disabled? Yeah, that could be an issue if it's -1 omni lights. Okay, so another thing we could do is we can print out what this value is. We'll be able to see that in the console. It's another thing we should check. So where is this again? This is omni light count. Let's do printf, which will get turned into console.log for the browser. We'll say omni light count, and this will be the inst omni light count, and here spotlight count, then we'll see what that gives us. Should we try any other experiments right now or leave it at that? I mean, this will print out whatever it is, whatever it is. It doesn't matter if we change the shader. So let's also try changing the shader. Let's look for omni light count. We'll change it to a uint. And spotlight count to a uint. Since that is what it is in C++, I have no idea if that'll have an effect. Oh, it's null on disabled? Yeah, null is just 0, just a long 0. Or it should be a long 0. Long int. Yeah, I have no idea what it's set at. I actually need to look at the scene because I'm using an older version of my test scene and I don't remember what's in it. When I was trying to find what change made it suddenly stop working, I rolled back to the last version of my test scene that I could verify on GitHub as me saying it worked on the Quest 2, and I went back to the revision, the hash that was posted there for the last time I said it was working on the Quest 2, and then I binary searched my way forward through the Godot code. I'd never took the test scene back to its latest version, so I'm using some old version that I don't exactly remember what's in it. There was a period of time when I did have an omni light and a spotlight in the scene because some months ago, the OpenGL renderer on the web, there was a bug where it wouldn't work unless you had exactly one directional light, one omni light, and one spotlight in the scene. Otherwise, the scene would fail to render. So it's possible that my old version of the test scene has an omni light and a spotlight, and maybe we can remove those and make some progress. But we will check that out in a moment. Let's stay on only changing 1 or 2 things at a time so we don't get out of control here, lose track of what we're trying to investigate. Okay, gonna hop over to the headset. You guys will be able to see what is coming up in the debug console, although like I just mentioned to Jose, you cannot see what I'm seeing in the headset. You only get to see the debug information that we're getting through the USB cord here. All right, whoa. All right, so the shader's failing to compile because I changed it to a uint. That's interesting. Let's take a peek. The shader is failing to compile with that as a uint. Where's the error? Take me to your error. Oh, geez. Okay, so here's the top of the shader. It's printing out the entire shader, which it always does when the shader fails to compile. I guess I have to scroll to the bottom of it before it'll print out the error. Maybe let me grab the Oh, I saw some red. Okay, fragment shader compilation failed. Greater than or equals wrong operand. Oh. So we're comparing a uint against an int, and GLSL does not like that. It is so strict about types that you cannot do greater than or equals to an int versus a uint. Okay, so I guess we have to look around here. That takes a left-hand operand type of high p int and a right-hand operand of a high p uint. There is no acceptable conversion. So let's take a look at that shader. And we're going to look for wherever spotlight count is being compared. So here we have a for loop. We're saying, I think this would be fixed if we just said uint here, at least in this case. That seems to be the only time it's compared. And let's look for omnilight count. And similar thing. I think if we change this to uint, I think that should fix the shader compilation. Let's give that a try. Oh, and then we're calling it, but we're not using the count, so that should actually be fine. I was thinking maybe we'd have to change the type on the argument to this function call, but I don't think we do. I think that should be fine. Compiling away. I'm still very curious about this hyperbeam. Oh, they have like a big computer screen on the wall as these people are hanging out in XR. This is a cool concept. I should get back to these folks. I think maybe they'd be interested in making a plugin for Godot engine to integrate their technology, and that would be really cool. I will have to get back to them. All right, looks like our build finished. Let's export. Then we can see if our shader will compile. Let me get back to here. I will hit refresh in the browser window. And it looks like we're synced up. You guys are seeing what I'm seeing in the browser window here. Which is a whole lot of nothing. Is it really refreshing? Let's try refreshing again. Okay. Yeah, we're synced up. I'm seeing that bar go up too. Oh, shader's still not compiling. I can't believe it. What's wrong with the shader? Okay, we're going to go to the first error. I may get rid of this uint change. Cannot cast from const int to high p uint. Wrong operand for left-hand uint type of const int. But we're not doing any other comparisons with this variable. At least not that I could see. So all we changed was omni light count, which is only used in one singular spot. And spot light count is also only used in one singular spot. All right, well, I'm going to undo these changes. Then we can at least get our print statements to print something, because we'll get past the shader compilation error. Hang on, omni light count, and we'll be able to find out how many omni lights actually exist here, how many spotlights actually exist here. I think that's all the changes. Let me just take a quick look at the git diff. Yep, that looks good to me. AwesomeB, Micah says, you can change the filters for your logs or click the button at the top right to show how many errors and warnings there are just to view those. Not use the browser dev tools in a while, so I'm not sure how they work anymore. Yeah, there probably is some way I could filter that to get to what I want quicker, rather than just scrolling until I see red. Oh, look, the errors are still coming in. Errors upon errors upon errors. Okay, that... Oh, I wonder if this same uniform is used in multiple shaders. That doesn't make sense though, because I only changed it in one shader. Well, anyway, we undid that change. We are going to try compiling. I'm happy that fall is here. I don't know if you guys like fall. I love fall. Oh, my character's stuck at the top. Let's get you out of there. Get you out of there, character. This summer, towards the end, was just far too hot for me. It's nice getting some cool, chill weather. We want to open web pages in VS Code, but kept running into CORS issues. After spending 2 days in iframes CORS, we finally found Hyperbeam and had the feature working in less than 5 minutes. Yeah, I mean, that'd be so cool to be like in a VR experience with a bunch of people, and you have VS Code running, and you're like pair programming in VS Code, like with people from, you know, different sides of the earth. Like that would just be such a cool use of VR. 10,000 free minutes. I could get a lot done in 10,000 free minutes. It's actually not even that expensive either. Yeah, I should follow up with these folks about making a Godot plugin. I think not that many people do Webxr stuff in Godot, so maybe they won't be that interested in making the investment. But this would be cool to have as a tool in the toolkit. All right, we are exporting, and then I will open this up in the headset again. We'll get those print statements, see how many Omni lights we have, how many spotlights we have. All right. I find it interesting too that the shader compilation fails, but we still see an outline of the box. All right, you guys seeing what I'm seeing? Yep. All right, no shader compilation errors. Hit this. Oh, I forgot to put a new line. But it looks like we do actually have one OmniLight and one Spotlight. Okay, let's try getting rid of those. I also wonder if it's worth like disabling this in the shader too, just saying disable OmniLight, having this define be set. But we won't work on that just now. We will start with just messing with the scene. So first I want to get rid of our print statements. And I would like to open up the scene that we're working on in the editor. I still don't entirely see how we could be getting this error from these particular lines, though. you know, we're setting an integer, which is 1. And 1 is the same whether it's an int or a uint. We looked at the shader code. It's declared as an int in the shader. Okay, we'll get rid of the OmniLight and the Spotlight. Save. And I'm going to exit out of here. For whatever reason, opening up the export dialog in latest master is broken, so I have to export from the command line, which is why I just killed it, came back here. And let's try it. And we are synced. Yeah, one of the worst things about working on these very platform-specific problems is just the slow, like, iteration loop that I have to compile, export, put on the headset, compile, export, put on the headset. Okay, so something's not right. I commented out those print statements, didn't I? They are saying 0 now, though. Did I forget to compile? I must have forgotten to compile. Let's run this task. Compile. Am I doing HTML5 for sure? Yeah, web, WASM, template debug. Yeah, it's so weird too. Like, what does these lines that are sending this error have to do with the change to the UBO that I made? Like, they shouldn't have anything to do with the change to the UBO that I made. I mean, in the end, this just gets us all more data, gets us closer and closer to whatever the root problem is, but always, like, when you're working on these kind of issues, just everything seems to make no sense, make no sense, make no sense, until eventually, hopefully, it makes sense. I mean, it always has, actually. I always have this thing where I'm working on some hard problem that's making me crazy, and I think in my mind, I'm never going to figure this out. But I always do. I mean, I can't recall the last time I had a problem that I just, like, literally gave up on and never worked it out. Yeah, so why are these print statements still here? Now when I look at the box, did I forget to save? I commented them out. Save. Let's look at let's look at git diff. Okay, print statements are commented out. That's so weird. I can do the thing where I kill nginx. Although, I mean, it was serving the new scene because the zeros, the ones turned to zeros. So something updated, just not this. Try compiling one more time here. We'll pay very close attention to what it says it's recompiling. Nothing. It didn't recompile anything. Did I forget to export again? I'm going to take a look at the diff here, make sure this looks like what I expect it to look like. Those lights went away. All right, export it again. Refresh the page. Let's get over to the right spot here. This issue, if we don't figure it out on stream, is just going to haunt me every day, every minute of every day until I solve it. Okay, the print statements are gone. I look at where the box should be, and we get those errors. I'm going to try just entirely disabling omni-lights and spotlights. Will this not try to set those uniforms if they're disabled? So what if it's like trying to set these values, but like the shader defines are saying that it shouldn't be set? Like, what if that's what's happening? So it shouldn't be, we had the OmniLight count thing here. OmniLight count. We have OmniLight count being set, and we don't think that disable OmniLight is defined. It shouldn't be defined. It should not be. But what if it is? What if it is defined? And the reason that we're having this problem is because this isn't here. That it was pre-processed out. If not defined and not defined, then we get light data. If not defined, directional light. 7. Disable OmniLight. Okay, let's go look at, let's like try to turn on the disable OmniLight stuff. And I guess then we'll have to comment out anything in here that that tries to set these. So here we would do base spec 1 spec constant disable OmniLights, or 1 shifted over by spec constant disable spotlights. Let's just follow base spec constants to the other direction. So where it actually gets set here. Version bind shader. And then how does the base spec constants relate to the instance variant? Does it relate to the instance variant? Shader version. Does calling version bind shader assign this shader version? So another thing called version. Version owner, get our LP version. Back. Man, I'm just a little bit lost in how all of this is supposed to connect. But we can keep following the breadcrumbs, which I think is now leading me to comment out this OmniLight stuff. I just would love to solve whatever is causing this error that makes no sense. This error shouldn't be happening. We're calling shader scene shader version. So version set uniform, setting the OmniLight count. Hang on, is this the like? Let's verify that these values have the right values. Let's get rid of this for a second. Let's go look at OmniLight count. This is uniform 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which lines up to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 OmniLight count, which should be enough to get like the right binding index and all of that junk. These UBOs, we're not really looking into how those work. I don't know where those are set. I guess we could try and track that down. Since it kind of relates to the whole thing. So it'd be like OmniLight data or whatever it might be called. It'll have a different name because it'll come from a different set of enums. Here we go. Scene OmniLight uniform location. So where in the code does that get set? Those UBOs. I guess we'll search here. Scene OmniLight uniform location. Also in rasterizer scene. So we should rotate between 3 buffers based on frame index. Subdata. Let's just get rid of these. We don't want it to happen. Doing some stuff with OmniLight, getting some parameters. Light storage, blah, 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 blah. Directional light is 7. That lines up with what I think I remember seeing in the shader. UBO 7 is the directional light. Okay, well, let's look at the diff, see if this makes sense to compile and try it. Okay, so we're setting this should set the defines for disable OmniLights, disable spotlights. I made more changes than this. Did I forget to save? What in the heck? I know for a fact I made a change here. Right there, this change. This change. Why am I not seeing that in the diff? Save. Let's go look at the diff. Am I in the... Did I accidentally go into that orig file again? No. What's happening? Rasterizer, scene. Here it is. Rasterizer, scene, GLES3. Oh, okay, I do see it. I just wasn't seeing it. Okay, it's there. It's happening. Okay, never mind. Sorry. Okay, let's compile this, see what we get. And then I may have hit my limit on this. I mean, I might need to go back to the drawing board and think through what the next move should be. We got an error. Okay. 2189 is the line. Ah, okay. Messed up a comment I was doing. All right. Let's compile again. So for whatever reason, binding this extra multi-view UBO is leading to the attempt to set the OmniLight count and spotlight count uniform to cause an error. When we comment out the lines that are causing that error, the error goes away. We have no more errors in the console, but it still renders nothing but gray. Which is just so weird. All right, let's export. The compile finished. We'll export. And then do this last test. And then it's to the drawing board. Because I think we may have chased this error as far as I can think of how to chase it for now. All right, we're in sync. Something's wrong. Shader failed to compile. All right, we're gonna scroll to the red. Scroll to the red. Here's some red. OmniLights, undeclared identifier. All right. Why didn't the define kick that out of there? Scene GLSL, Omni Lights. light process omni. Omni lights. This shouldn't happen. This shouldn't get called. This function probably shouldn't even exist. If omni. Ooh, someone has subscribed. Thank you, Anonymous Bringer, for bringing my headphones here. All right, so these, if not defined, disable light omni. And if and def, disable light spot. And if, and then we need to make sure we don't try to call these methods. Cool, doesn't try to call the method. And same for OmniLights. Cool. So the declaration needs to go away entirely, which that should solve that. Ah! Go away, spammer. Be gone. Okay. Let's compile, export, run, see what happens. I don't know. This deep dive into this error felt very orderly all the way up until we got to the point where we could see which line it was coming from, and it made even less sense. I just don't understand how this error is coming from this line, how it's caused from the changes we made. I mean, cutting things out of the shader is good, like that in general. Simplifying the shader so there's less things that can go wrong, I think that's a good approach, and we've removed some stuff. We're removing all the stuff for OmniLights and Spotlights. But I just don't see how what we've learned could cause this problem. I suppose I should write down what we figured out here, which lines it is that we know are causing this problem. Copy and paste them from here. I have a document that I've got my Webxr in Godot 4 notes going in. I'll bring that up in a second. Okay, so this error comes from these two lines. So I can't forget that, but I still don't understand it. All right, so let's just see if our compile finished. Actually, I need this and what? I did compile it, right? Well, let's assume that I did, and we'll export here and test it again. Okay. And now that we're making such big changes, I probably also should test on the desktop, because there will be the question of, is it just broken in Quest now, or is it broken everywhere now? Because, like, I don't see the cube at all. The cube is gone. Yeah. I don't know. Let's try this in not the headset. we may have made enough changes that the whole thing just doesn't work. Well, I thank you guys for coming on this journey with me, even if the journey has led us not to the answer, at least not quite yet. There was that stream a few weeks ago, so I'm still seeing the cube here. It still goes to stereo. But in the headset, I'm not seeing the cube even in 2D. What is happening right now? So we're not getting any errors. Our cube is entirely failing to render. The change that seems to be causing it to entirely fail to render is eliminating spotlights and omnilights. We had 0 of those anyway. What is happening? Buffer range, is that what that method is called? I'm just gonna look in the canvas shader for a second, just see what UBOs it has. Does it have a UBO 8? No, it does not. UBO 7, UBO 6, UBO 5, UBO 4 it has. I don't know. I'm just straight out of ideas. For some reason, adding a new UBO causes these 2 lines to cause an error, and for the cube to fail to render even if those 2 lines are commented out. And those 2 lines are doing something that is so harmless that I don't know why they would lead to an error. So we know that they're setting 0. On, hang on, let me get over to that code in the actual editor here. Rasterizer, scene, GLES3. Let's uncomment this code so I can just dip in here. Take me to this line. So this drops us into this function, GL uniform 1i, which is being called on get uniform. Let's look at the docs for this method really quick. So GL uniform 1i. I guess OpenGL 4 is fine. We're actually using OpenGL 3.3, but that's neither here nor there. So location refers to the binding point, the location of the uniform variable to be modified. Or no, this isn't actually the binding point. This is the location that we get from the shader, right? So we're calling version get uniform. And it has to be with the current set of specializations, right? Because set uniform takes... Are we failing to pass this argument? Is that what's happening? Which arguments are we passing? We are passing uniforms, value, RID, variant, but not specialization. How much you want to bet that needs to be changed to take the specialization? Hang on a second. Hang on a second. So let's return let's set this to 0 so we don't deal with the radiance map. And then let's look for, let's go to those two lines. Those are the only two lines we care about. Where the heck is that? That's omni light count. Light count. But base spec constants. Base spec constants. Omni light count's going to be 0 because we've cleared them out. So this doesn't matter. Let's uncomment some of the stuff that we commented out to maybe get us past this here. Yeah, so this is fine. Those if and defs can stay. This we are going to need to get rid of that. That's around line 1614. So let's go to 1614. Oops, not 1514, 1614. Get rid of these. Let's take a peek here again. All right, I don't know. We've got 1 minute left, and I suddenly feel like this might actually be the thing. What if this is the thing? Keep your fingers crossed. Because we might be setting the uniform for the wrong shader. Because the shaders have variants, they have specializations. If we're not passing the right specializations in, we're setting the uniforms for a different shader. Okay, so we compiled. We are going to export, yeah, the clean. If this is the thing, we party. We party like it's 1999. Although, I mean, I remember New Year's Eve 1999. It's a pretty good New Year's Eve. I had fun. I didn't party particularly harder than 1998 or 2000, but Okay, we exported. Let's get over here. Quit. Let's refresh. We are spinning the wheel. All right, there's a cube there. That's a good sign. I'm going to press it. No cube. No cube in sight. No errors either. Jeez. Man, I was really hoping. But no, this is interesting. I feel like this might be the right path here. This might be the right path. We might be headed in the correct direction. I may not have exactly found the right spot for what we need to do here, but I feel like we're going somewhere good. What does the diff look like? Let's just take one last peek at this. So we commented out this cube map thing. I don't think this cube map shader even runs, so it's probably not anything. Should I put the radiance map back in? But no, we're close, guys. We're close. There's all the other places we're calling version set uniform that aren't integers that may also be related. Version set uniform. Like anywhere else in here, go away, command line. So here we are. Spec constants calling version set uniform without the base spec constants. And then down here, we added them. What is this even setting? The opaque pre-pass threshold? Base spec constants. Here, we're saying get. This should also say base spec constants. This should also say base spec constants. World transform should say base spec constants. Let's just keep going down the line here. The sky shader I don't think is even running. It's a different shader entirely anyway. Let's just look for anything on the scene shader. This is the cube map shader. Okay, we're on the scene shader. Let's just go through each of these one more time. Base spec constants. Base spec constants. Base spec constants. Okay, and set uniform, if anything else is doing this kind of thing too. So let's look for version get uniform. See if there's anything in here that does that as well. Only these two lines. Okay, let's uncomment the remaining things we commented out since we know they're harmless in the other environments. This is the last thing we're going to try. This is the last thing. So let's go back to here. Back to your version set uniform. Set uniform. Any of these ones we commented out. We commented out some stuff on the sky. I gotta get rid of the Or just everything we commented out. Just one we commented out. All right. All right. One last look at this diff. All that we have added is these if-in-defs, which should be fine. Those shouldn't mess anything up, although I could remove them just to remove them. This we could set back to the radiance map. And then because in the working version, it does have that set, even though I know it gives us that warning or whatever. Okay. Last thing, last try for the stream. We went a couple minutes over, but we're cool. Linking. Come on, come on, come on. I have to know. Even if this isn't the problem, I think it is a problem. You know? It seems like what we were doing was wrong anyway. Even if it does happen to work in a bunch of circumstances. Yeah, what if adding the UBO changed the location that's used for the shader, and so then the location is different? This is feeling like it could make sense in some universe. Okay, really quickly, we're going to try doing it in the Webxr Emulator. Totally still working. Now, let's go over here. Last try for the day. All right, we are synced up. We are loading. I probably should have killed and restarted Nginx for the caching thing that sometimes causes problems. All right, so I'm seeing a cube, you're seeing a cube. The cube! The cube is here! We did it! Oh my god. Time to party. The clean, you are correct. The cube! The cube! Oh my god. What in the heck? Okay. Okay. So this makes sense. This actually does make a kind of sense. Okay, so allow. I don't care. Do things. We have a shader, right? There's uniforms in it. The uniforms get assigned like a magical integer for like what they are, right? So like this uniform just gets called 2, and this one gets called 7, this one gets called 8, and this one gets called 9. And those numbers are just assigned by the GPU driver when the shader compiles. We have multiple variants of the shader. We have variant A, variant B. On the desktop, for whatever reason, the uniforms on variant A and B are assigned the same locations, and that's why it works on the desktop. On the Quest, they are not assigned the same locations. For some reason, we compile this other variant, and it gets, I don't know, 3 and 4 and 2 and 1 here. And that's why when we're trying to set the uniforms, without telling it the correct variant that we're trying to set them for, it was failing. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, jeez. Wow. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for for sticking with me through this thing because that was nuts. That was nuts. I am going to update this PR and send it off to the Godot rendering overlords, namely Clayjohn, and yeah, let's get this merged. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks again for going on that journey with me. I'm going to be living on adrenaline for the next 20 minutes because we solved it. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Talk to you on Discord or wherever. See you later. Bye-bye.